Don't underestimate your neighbor. Everyone has a skill. Everyone can bring something to the table. So don't underestimate the person next to you with their education level, with their income level, with their background, because you never know who you're sitting by. And then I would also say, make sure you're kind. This world has so much pain, so much suffering, especially right now, that don't be mean. As simple as that. Be kind. And if you see somebody struggling, reach out too. Make sure that you smile and you say hi. That's really important. Those little gestures can go a long way.
Hi, and welcome to the Global One Voice Empowerment Network podcast, where we highlight bold voices shaping the future with purpose and passion. My name is Nicole Camacho, and today we're joined by the leader whose work emphasizes what it means to lead with intention, community, and heart. Selina Barajas is a fourth-generation Tucson resident, a proud graduate of the University of Arizona, and a passionate advocate for equity, sustainability, and representation. She holds a master's in urban planning from UCLA and recently won her run for Tucson City Council Ward 5. From her work at the Sunnyside Foundation overseeing community investments to co-founding Luna y Sol Cafe, South Tucson's first ever coffee shop, and community habitats in partnership with the Tucson Audubon Society, Selina continues to create spaces for connection, culture, and environment sustainability. She also is the founder of Reinas Who Hike, a Southern Arizona collective uplifting women and families of color who share a love for outdoors and the Sonoran Desert. In this episode, we talk with Selina about how her upbringing shaped her path into public service, why she chose to run for office, and how she's using her platform to engage young people in civic life. From the importance of local elections to the power of mentorship and representation, Selina shares what truly means to lead with intention. Hi everyone, welcome to the Global One Voice Empowerment Network podcast. My name is Nicole Camacho and I'm here with my colleague Rebecca Ursule. Today we have a very special guest, Selina Barajas. Yay. So you recently won your run for Tucson City Council. How do you feel?
Well, I feel relieved.
Yeah.
So first, thank you for inviting me and for allowing me to come and share this special historic moment. It's a very historic moment for our Ward 5 community. I'm the first woman ever to run and now to be a councilwoman in Ward 5. So I feel very proud. I feel honored and very grateful for everyone that helped me get to this point.
Before we continue with the first question we have for you, I want to say congratulations. And I'm so proud of you, especially as a Latina in Tucson. It's very special and you're giving hope to the people, and I love that.
Thank you. It's I think I woke up yesterday like really hungover, not from drinking, but just from the excitement, of hugging people, of people congratulating me. I wasn't emotional when they announced the results. I think it happened so fast that I couldn't really process everything. Yeah. We had an amazing election night party at Second Sky, surrounded by so many of our Ward 5 neighbors and people that I've admired and have looked up to, and family, cousins, countless friends, and my awesome team. So it took a lot for me to soak in. And yesterday morning, I woke up just like really grateful for everyone that's come before me, everyone that's here with me. And then, thinking about the future, I received a lot of messages from parents, fathers and mothers that thanked me because their daughters woke up saying that they're interested now in getting involved in politics or being involved in the community. And those messages just was like, wow, it's not just about me in this moment. It really is for the long haul of not just Ward 5, but for our Tucson community. And I don't hold this position for granted, and I don't take it lightly. Like, I'm really honored.
Growing up, I always knew that politics was very hard to get into. So the only person I had to look up to was AOC. Oh. So now seeing others, Adelitas, you, so many Latino women going into those positions are very inspiring. And I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. No, thank you. Growing up here my whole life in Tucson and seeing our previous councilmen, from Richard Fimbres to Steve Leal. I remember being a high school student and going into some of our best Mexican restaurants in town and seeing him with his suit and tie and talking to other, leaders in the community. And that was kind of like those leaders were the folks that I remember growing up. So it did take me a long time to think of myself as a quote unquote, politician. I've always been a public servant. I've always cared for our community, especially on the south side. But I do feel like if I had maybe a Selina Barajas councilwoman, as a Ward 5, walking into those same Mexican restaurants, who knows, like maybe I would have thought about politics a little earlier. So that representation and having folks that you could identify with is very important. And it's important for folks to see that, because then they could come into the process and see themselves in these spaces, because historically these spaces aren't built for us.
Yeah. I know you grew up in Tucson.
Yes.
So it's like your fourth generation.
Technically, I'm fifth generation. I've had a lot of tias and tios tell me you're fifth generation. Okay. So I'll just say I'm fifth generation because that's as far as I could go back, but probably deeper, deeper roots.
So where did you go to school? Did you go to the University of Arizona, or where exactly did you go to school?
So I am a proud Wildcat. I did attend our public schools here in Tucson. I attended both Sunnyside Unified School District and Tucson Unified School District. Both my parents taught and retired with SUSD. So I grew up in a household of public educators, sitting at the table and hearing my mom talk about her fourth grade elementary class at Elvira. My dad taught at Apollo, coached, sports, Sierra, Sunnyside, Desert View, all, these schools are in Ward 5. And I would hear them talk about the families and just with pride. And then I went to Choya High School. I graduated from Choya High School. I'm a proud Charger. Okay. Technically, it's in Ward 1, but hey, it's still in the neighborhood. And University of Arizona, I did my undergrad, sociology, minor in Mexican-American studies. And then I moved to Los Angeles to pursue my graduate education in urban planning at UCLA. So I'm also a proud Bruin. So Wildcat and Bruin.
Yeah. So as a student, was it always your passion and a dream to one day work with in the political career and support so many people in the future?
Yeah, people are like, wow, this is your first time in politics. And I always say, yes, this is my first time in this role as running as a, politician.
Yeah.
But I'm not new to community. Attending as a student here at the U of A, I worked during those years of my undergrad, I worked at TUSD, Mexican American Raza Studies 1010 office, which is literally down the street. I would park my car there and walk to campus. And I would always study, and then I'd go work. And while working for that department, it was very community based. So I'd do a lot of community work, and we would advocate, for a lot of things that were unjust at the time, like SB 1070, House Bill 2281. There was a lot of policies coming out in the state of banning culturally relevant curriculum to English only. And as a high school and then student and then as an undergrad student, I was always involved in making sure that we protect the neighbors and the students and the youth and families from these unjust policies. So I was always involved in the community.
Yeah.
And then coming here to the university, it was a big step. Not a lot of us at that time from my high school had attended this campus, even though we're like a, 5 mile radius, down the street from the high school I went to. at that time there wasn't a lot of students coming straight from high school to the U of A, so it was I was really isolated. It was a different experience for me. I was very quiet here as a student. I didn't really get involved because I was so focused of working with this department that really helped guide me. And when I was working with the school district, I was around a lot of leaders. Our then mayor, Regina Romero, was at Ward 1. I was around Council Member Steve Leal. I was around Pima Board of Supervisors, Richard Elias, our congressman, our late congressman, Raul Grijalva, our school board rep, Adelita Grijalva at that time, she was there. So I've always been around these leaders that are now supporting me. So that's why I received a lot of their support and endorsements early on, because they were always around and I always saw them in community. But coming here as a student, I had to really navigate. I had to navigate, and I want to credit the university now, for trying to install more community-based programs. I do want to give a shout out to Dr. Marla Franco from HSI. She's really helped bring the institution into the community. I work closely with 2 U of A professors, Kenny Wong and Dr. Jacqueline Barrios, who we've been doing a lot of work in Ward 5 for the past, several years. And here as a student, I really grasped towards the programs like at the Cesar Chavez building, the Guerrero Center. Yeah. Those were like my safe spaces to go and study, even if I was studying alone, just to see other students that came from the same neighborhoods as me or looked like me or just spoke like me, that these were like our safe spaces that we would go, and they'd always have food there. They'd always have resources. That's where I've met a lot of my lifelong friends from that building. So I'm hoping that we could continue to support those ethnic studies programs. A lot of the students that I met here at the university, some of them were from out of state, some of them were not from Tucson, but a lot of them were from Tucson. A lot of them were from our neighboring schools, Sunnyside, Desert View, Pueblo, meeting them at New Start. That's another program that really helped me out, New Start. I'm going to plug them because that just gave me confidence to step on this campus, and even though it was new to me, these programs really helped me out.
Yeah, and I would say I think being around those great leaders usually helps, because then you get very great mentorship from them, and then you live the life that they are living, and you're seeing whatever achievements they are making in other people's lives. Always helps, because Nicole and I are looking at the presidential, it's a series that's gonna come out recently. So we are looking at all the presidents of the United States, how they served from George Washington and their leadership style. And one thing we are looking at, we are saying, a series, a common thing that was happening is that most of them had mentors. Most of them were learning from others, and I think that really helps when we learn from others. We have the information, yes, but looking at what others have achieved so far and having that a listening ear to learn from others usually helps. And we are glad that you took that path, and it's really working out so well as well.
Yes, mentorship is key. I say that all the time. After this is wrapped up, I'm gonna go down and reconnect with one of my interns that work on my campaign. She's a U of A student here, Cassandra, and she's working with Dr. Anna O'Leary, who was my professor here at the U of A, and she's giving a presentation. So these little connections, you might not see them while you're a student here, but that mentorship really does blossom and flourish, and then eventually thrives and grows, right? It really helps cultivate a whole community.
I see how involved you are with the community. You just recently, did you recently open your cafe, or is it just opened? Okay.
Well, we're almost there. I'll be transparent, and I've told several people when we first started this journey of opening up a coffee shop, South Tucson's soon to be first locally owned coffee shop, South 22nd Street. There's not that many locally owned coffee shops off 22nd Street. When me and my husband were going full force, I wasn't considering running for city council. I wasn't anxiously waiting to run a campaign. So we had to pause this summer just because I wanted to give this campaign, 110% because that's what our Ward 5 neighbors deserve, somebody that's fully invested. So because of that, we had to pause just for the summer, but we're going full force. My husband was at our coffee shop, Luna y Sol Cafe, this morning, just starting to get those doors open. We are almost there. But before we even open our doors, we have opened up a habitat. We have the Luna y Sol Community Habitat, a partnership with Tucson Bird Alliance, formerly known as Tucson Audubon Society, to create a bird and butterfly habitat area, a garden space, a green space for our South Tucson neighbors and just surrounding community to have access to. City of South Tucson, it is considered one of probably the hottest zip code, 85713 in the city, and there's not a lot of active, consistent public parks. So my mother grew up in the city of South Tucson, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, and I'll probably go back to great-great-great-grandparents, right? They all have roots in the city of South Tucson. So it was really important for me when I returned back from Los Angeles to invest in this community that has seen a lack of investment. So rather than investing somewhere else, I wanted to invest in the roots and literally the soil, so that's open. But we haven't opened those doors so much in the summer just because it's so hot, but that's going to start up again. And we're hoping to do some pop-ups. We've done some cold brew pop-ups, kind of just introducing this community to cold brew because they haven't had a chance to just walk to a coffee shop and taste cold coffee. So we've been doing that. But I've learned a lot. Just like I've learned a lot in politics, I've learned a lot about the coffee industry. We're going to have the micro roasters of the year, Little Waves, serve coffee. So not only is our South Tucson community going to have access to coffee, they're going to have access to quality, like good, the best coffee. So it's the best coffee I've ever had. So I'm excited to really open those doors.
And when you talked about investment, there is this quote I read that you say that because when we invest in our community, we build a stronger Tucson for 7 generations to come. And I really love that quote.
Thank you.
I wish all the young people will think about this critically, because it's like when you do something, whether it's positive or negative, it really impacts people and it does impact generations to come. So I really love that quote. I don't know what you were thinking about when you say that, but it's really beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I do think about, because I'm here temporarily, right? But these decisions that I'm going to make can have a lifelong lasting impact in our community. I tell my daughters, when mama's no longer here, you all are going to keep these visions alive. You're going to hopefully keep this space, this beautiful habitat space alive. Hopefully the trees right now, they're growing. But I'm hoping that when I'm not here, the trees are it's going to be a forest in that habitat area. It's just going to grow. And that concept of 7 generations, that really stems from a foundation of indigenous, thinking of 7 generations to come. And being here from Tucson, being on indigenous land, it is important to think of those 7 generations to come. So, I thought about that a lot during our kickoff when I did announce this campaign and seeing the crowd and seeing folks that have history here. It's really important to acknowledge that, especially for the folks that are no longer here with us, the 7 generations before us, to also acknowledge them too.
Yeah.
What projects are you most proud of that you've done in the past, and what projects are you hoping to do in the future?
Well, right now, I'm actually doing, I've been doing this project for the past, I would say 3 years, I think. I work closely with Sunnyside Foundation. If you're unfamiliar with Sunnyside Foundation, please look it up. It's really a giving hub of the South Side. During COVID, when the doors started to open up, there was a grant that was released, the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA. And I helped write that along with the then CEO, Carrie Lopez-Howe, and Vanessa Gallego. We all came together. And then when Liz Ortero came in, the new CEO, we cultivated a grant and we received a grant investing in people and places. So I was able to oversee this community investment fund. And one project that I want to share that has been ongoing and that I can't wait for the fall because we're going to do a huge celebration.
Yeah.
It's the El Pueblo 50. El Pueblo Neighborhood Center is located in Ward 5, and it's a community hub. It's a space that I know I received my first City of Tucson Parks and Rec Flocorico classes out of there. It was a recreational space where I used to meet my nana, and we would walk on the upstairs of the basketball gym. You know, it was probably one of my first places where I had my first civic engagement, you know, town hall meeting, and where I still go for meetings. So it is like this central place for the South Side to come together, neighbors. And when we started this process 3 years ago, this El Pueblo 50, we were investing in the space of the El Pueblo Neighborhood Center, because the neighborhood center, which is an older area of the campus, had seen some less activation. So we as leaders, we came in to create programming, to create events, to also document the history, the richness of the space. It has the most beautiful murals. Our late congressman office was there, so we were able to talk to him. We were able to bring U of A students to the El Pueblo Neighborhood Center. They had their classes. It was class-based there at the center. So these students were able to leave this, campus and step outside of the bubble of the U of A into the community with the guidance of, Kenny Wong and Dr. Jacqueline Barrios. And they had a whole syllabus of the history of El Pueblo and the surrounding neighborhoods. So we were able to bring some of these local leaders to talk to the students. And in November, I'm not going to release a date yet, just because I want to make sure it's official, but we're going to do an El Pueblo 50 where we're going to bring the community together to see some of the photos that we started to archive. There was celebrations there. There's been parties there, weddings there. I mean, I've attended baby showers there, and also to remember our late congressman who, returned back to the space and ended his career there. He could have put his congressional office anywhere in his district, and he decided to go back to El Pueblo Neighborhood Center where he started his career. He used to work as part of the city with the center, the El Pueblo Neighborhood Center. So it was pretty amazing for me to learn all this history alongside these students, and to also storytell with some neighbors that haven't shared their stories. It was also an area that has seen a lot of trauma, with TCE and the water contamination. That's also the area that is still seeing the consequences, with illnesses and deaths. So we're also remembering those stories and highlighting that, so this generation knows of the history of that space.
Yeah, and
so I'll make sure to invite you both.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think also, investing in the history is really very important. Yes. And I love that you guys are doing that, because most young people, they don't know about what happened 50 years ago, 100 years ago. And when we look at the history, I think it always helps us to learn, and not only learning, but predict the future, because you learn about the history, the past, and then look at the present and predict the future. And that's whereby we come up with great decisions that will benefit the whole community. And I think recently they've been talking about the Project Blue. So what do you say about the Project Blue?
Well, we got that news yesterday, right? Mayor and Council. We saw a lot of folks relieved and happy, in the audience. I heard public comments. I heard our current mayor and council speak on that issue. It's a very controversial issue because, water alone is very precious here in the desert.
It is, yeah.
I mean, this week has been the hottest week in the whole summer, and I keep hearing it, and I'll say it out loud. It's the hottest summer, and yet it's the coolest summer that we're experiencing right now. So each summer is getting hotter and hotter. So we have to really preserve our resources, and when you think about development, it goes back to that quote, 7 generations to come. We can't just make quick decisions based on, the economic impact. Sometimes we have to really think about those resources and how we could preserve it. But also I do feel like the community was, including, myself as a community member, when these initiatives are laid out, folks want to see the transparency. You have to be transparent up front, or else you're gonna concern, our community if everything isn't laid out in the forefront. You have to be transparent.
Yeah.
So I was glad to see, mayor and council not vote to see it moving forward, and we have to. But it opens up to bigger discussions of how can we make sure that these development projects think of our sustainability, think of our water, think of our resources,
the long term as well.
The long term, but also understanding, we need to bring in jobs here too. I heard from all sides, and we need to make sure that our unions are supported and that they have opportunity to stay here in Tucson, because we want them to stay here and work here and live here. So we really have to start seeking out some developments, but that won't be in the cost of our our resources.
The cost of our health and
exactly.
Because I was just saying, like, even last week I was saying this, that for as long as it comes up, like, they have to weigh the benefits and the outcomes of the whole overall the project.
Yes.
For as long as it's not gonna like affect like people, they should look at how many disadvantages will that project have and how many advantages will that project have. So they should weigh it out and find out if it's going to have more advantages, then it's a great project to move forward with. And if the disadvantages are weighing like over the advantages, then I think it's not a great project to go with overall, because at the end of the day, they are doing such projects for the people and for the community. And so if it's going to harm the community, then I don't think so if it's going to be a great project to move forward with.
And you have to hear from your constituents. You have to hear from the community that's going to impact. And it was, during this campaign, I've been so focused on knocking on doors and canvassing and hearing from our neighbors. And I did receive a lot of folks, wondering how I stood, what my viewpoint was. So I shared that, and it was also amazing to see how many people attended these meetings. Like, that's something that I want to keep on all projects, right? Not just those controversial ones. I'm hoping that moving forward, I do see this as an opportunity for our community to attend meetings. Sometimes these meetings might not resonate with folks, or the project might be a different area of town, but it is really important for our neighbors to get involved in these meetings, to attend mayor and council meetings, to attend, to talk to their ward representative, to talk to the folks in office, to talk to the team. Like, it's really important that our residents, that our neighbors, our stakeholders, feel like they can get involved, because that is crucial. That is crucial for that community involvement. So I'm hoping that, because this was so brought to light, that folks are going to continue to attend meetings, going to continue to voice up, to sit at, board and commission meetings. Now maybe somebody will be inspired to join, their ward representative and talk about environmental issues. It shouldn't just stop here. Like, we have to keep the involvement going.
What's an advice you would like to tell young people who want to get into politics and into the community but feel disconnected?
Well, I would love for you all to talk to my interns. We had a whole team that really helped me get to that finish line. We had some U of A students there walking alongside me, canvassing for the first time ever, getting involved in politics, and some past Sunnyside grads now in here at the U of A, and one student in California. And I've asked them, like, why did you want to get involved? Like, why did you want to get involved in my campaign? Like, they had never met me. They just received an email, and then they met me, and I asked them, what made you want to get involved and continue to stay? Because they could have just attended one canvas and been like, oh, this isn't for me. And they shared that, that they saw the passion in me, but also that they wanted to get involved because they see the importance of our local community, local politics. They're also invested in this area. So for those that want to get involved, I would just say start, but also don't be afraid to ask questions, and also don't be afraid to move around, I've introduced a lot of my interns to other offices already. I've introduced them to like other stakeholders, because my hope is that they can get involved with me and with Ward 5, but also if they want to get involved in our local school district, or if they want to get involved with the business community, if they want to get involved in environmental issues, that then I could plug them into things too, because that's the whole goal of for me in mentorship, going back to mentorship. I would look at people and ask them questions. My mentor, I always say her name because she helped me out so much, Lorraine Lee. She was at Chicanos por la Causa, And at that time, I was an undergrad student at the U of A. We were doing a youth conference here at the U of A. We're planning this youth conference where we were going to bring middle school and high school students. And I just pulled her aside and asked her, what did you get your master's degree in? Because I was just like in awe of her. She would sit at a table and just talk to everybody. And she could speak Spanish, Spanglish, English, you know. She was awesome. And she's like, UCLA. I'm like, oh, where's that? Yeah. and what? Urban planning. So she's the reason why I went to urban planning school at UCLA. Like, I would not have received that degree if it wasn't for her. Sadly, she wasn't able to know because she passed away, you know, before I entered that campus. And due to, I feel like it was connected to, you know, TCE, the water contamination. She battled throat cancer for many years. And if I didn't ask her that question, if I didn't pull her aside and say, Lorraine, what did you get your degree in? I don't think I'd be sitting here in this chair right now. I wouldn't have ran for city council. I wouldn't have gone on and got my master's at UCLA because she helped me get off the wait list. You know, she is the reason why I was on that campus. Because we had the same professor, Dr. Leo Estrada, who's no longer with us, who I wish he would know that I won this campaign because he was really good on his demographics and statistics. But for those that want to get involved, seek out those that are also open. You know, we need you just as much as you need us. Like, you're valuable, your time is precious, so really try to just step outside your comfort zone too, you know, and learn and grasp and ask questions, you know, and be open to being a little bit to feeling a little uncomfortable.
And from what I've learned from you is that you started, your work earlier enough. It didn't just start today or when you just won the race. It just, I think it started way before when you're still a student. And there's this quote that you said that, like, I've been putting in work and I'll continue for more years to come. And one thing I've realized is that most young people are really passionate and they want to get involved. Yes. And they're looking at all these issues and it's pissing them off and they're like, I can do something. But there's always something that always holds them back, is that they're not consistent. They'll start something today and tomorrow it's all over. You're not kind of consistent. So what do you say about consistency? Because at times you really want to get involved and then there are these barriers or you don't know where to go. And some people are really lucky enough because you might have parents, you might have friends of the friends of those parents who are really guiding you through the work and kind of motivates you. But then there are these students who they don't have those parents, they don't have those people who can motivate them or people whom they can look up to. So what will you say to such situations?
Well, you know, I have been in those places, but I've also seen, you know, folks that feel like that. I worked at a youth center too for many years in the city of Santa Monica, the Pico Youth and Family Center. And I saw the mentorship piece. And what I noticed was when I worked there, it was very creative. You know, there was different outlets of how you could get involved. And I feel like going back to our city and politics, we need to create opportunities that folks can connect with, you know. And I do feel like I've learned a lot in these past few months of running a campaign. And what I've heard and what I've seen is it's so, how can I say this in words? A lot of people have said that they feel joy when they come to my canvassing or when, you know, we have an event. And it's really important for people to have that connection to community, but also to each other and to the overall mission. So if they feel lost, you know, if they feel like they don't have the guidance, you only need one mentor. One mentor could really change your whole journey. And I'm just hopeful that by me being in Ward 5, I'm going to try to really create those opportunities, you know, for folks to have those interactions. Maybe it's going to be one conversation, or maybe it's attending an event and hearing somebody speak, or maybe it's seeing an art piece that will inspire them, or a musical act, or another nonprofit. Like, I really, really want to bring our different sectors together, you know, going back to the quote that you said, and thank you for both doing the amazing research today. You know, like I did share, you know, I've been putting in work and I'm going to continue to be here because this is my home and this is where I'm raising my daughters. And I always try to imagine the world where I want to raise them in, right? So that does include bringing people together. So Ward 5, we have amazing nonprofits. We have amazing businesses. We have awesome leaders, you know, local leaders and legacy leaders who have been here for a long time that could pass on those values and that advice. So my goal by being a councilwoman is going to be to create those opportunities of engagement, bringing our neighbors outside to talk to one another, bringing our youth to see, you know, mentors, and so that they could get plugged in. Because I want to see, you know, the future councilman, councilwoman in the audience, you know, when I am going to these events. Like, I'm not going to be the councilwoman forever, right? So my hope is that by us getting this community involved, that we're going to be able to cultivate leaders, you know, and wherever they're at, not just in politics, like if it's in their home life, if it's in their job, if it's school, like wherever they're at.
Can you please share one moment that you faced a challenge and how you pushed through it?
Well, you know, since I do have this like campaign in my head, I would say, you know, it was a challenge for me to see myself in this position. You know, politics is very scary, especially right now, just with our administration right now. It's just so full of hate. It's so full of divisiveness. It's so full of ugliness, you know. So why would you want to step into these spaces of politics, right? So that was a challenge for me. It took me a few months to really jump in to this race. Like, I was going back and forth because I want to protect my family, my peace, my sanity, you know. It was a challenge, and it's a challenging time overall. You know, this is hard. These are hard times, like just knocking on doors. People are nervous to open their doors because of ICE. People are nervous to open their doors because of just issues that are happening and because there's a lack of trust, right? So I had to kind of get over that mindset, that roadblock in my head of not wanting to run, you know, and then there was a few things that made me consider, okay, I got to do this. But that was very challenging for me to see myself as a candidate. You know, I've received some statistics actually from my campaign manager, Claire, who shares that it takes 7 asks for a woman to want to run for politics. So it probably took 7 asks for AOC for her to want to run, right? Like, and I think for women of color, I believe it's 10 asks. And I will share that I did receive about 9 asks from our community of saying, run, Selina, run. And I'm like, no, not me, no. I'll have somebody else. I'll do it. I'll be quietly on the sidelines, you know. But I'm glad I overcame that mental block, you know, because I wouldn't trade this moment in time for anything. Like, I am proud that I decided to move forward.
Yeah, and it's true that leadership comes with a lot of responsibilities.
Yes.
It's really great to lead and create an impact, but there are always those different challenges. Like we said earlier, we are looking at the president, and there's this, let me say, George Washington. So this is a president like who really wanted to do something impactful for the country, and he did really great. And at some point, people will be like, no, you're not doing your best. And at some point, he will resign and then do it again. And so it's really challenging. And for you being like a woman, you're a mother, you're a wife, and you have the other responsibilities as well, and the community is looking up to you. And so it's really kind of like a challenging task to have. But I think when you have your heart out there for the people and you want to see the best for others, you can always put yourself, it's a sacrifice, I can say.
Yes, and you know, I've been just making sure that I surround myself by positive people, you know, because I think being a woman, being a woman of color, your folks, I feel like, criticize you more. You know, you have this pressure. So I make sure to surround myself by people that have known me for years, you know, family, folks that will give it to me straight, you know. That's going to be really important. And just to make sure that I'm around good energy, because you know, I'm only one person. I'm not going to be able to provide solutions for every single thing that our community wants. But I do feel confident in our Ward 5 community that if they're right alongside me, who knows, maybe we can. But I'm not going to be able to do it alone.
Yeah, I think we are coming to the end of our podcast today, but I want to ask you one of our last questions is that, like, what message would you hope to give to an 18-year-old or a 35-year-old listening to us right now?
Well, the advice I'd give to an 18-year-old or 35-year-old listening to this podcast right now is keep going. No matter what you're dealing with, keep going. Seek out resources, seek out mentorship, kind of what we talked about today. But just the advice, to lead with heart and to also, I guess I'll leave a quote that I try to carry with me when I am a little stuck, going back to my mentor, Lorraine Lee. I felt like at that time when I was an undergrad student, she'd kind of leave me with little consejos or like little advice. And now I'm like, wow, she gave me a lot of little advice that I carry with me and I think about. And I remember she left an email before I got accepted to UCLA because I told her, Lorraine, I don't know what urban planning is. Like, what is that? I never heard of that, that field before because Tucson isn't really like an urban city, even though we do have our core area, but we don't really have like an urban planning program. We have a planning program here at the UA, but not urban planning. So I would ask her a lot of questions, and I looked back at an email, and she had said, when I was studying at UCLA, I didn't really know what urban planning was either, but I knew I wanted to help out my community, and you're going to get tools to help out your community. So don't think, going back to the 18 and 35-year-olds, don't think you have to know everything. Like, that is so important. Like, I try to carry that. Like, I don't know everything about politics. I don't know everything about Ward 5. Am I learning? Yes. Am I asking questions? Yes. Am I listening? Absolutely. Am I seeking out those leaders that might have more expertise or more knowledge? Yeah, for sure. I am seeking them out. So if at 18 or 35-year-old, you don't know about a specific field or initiative, don't worry. Like, that's fine. As long as you're willing to learn. And also, as long as you're willing to think about our community when you are coming across, certain things or just certain tools. And then the last thing I would say to that 18, 35-year-old, whatever you do with a bigger purpose and bigger vision. Don't just wake up and, do something out of routine or out of, a check at the end of the week. Really do it because you believe in it, or else time is going to go by and you're going to have all these questions of, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that, and going back to that challenge, that's what I had in my head. I don't want to look back and think, maybe I should have ran. I love this community so much, especially the South Side. Like, I love Tucson and I love Tucson South Side. I didn't want to have a regret. I didn't want to think, maybe I should have ran. But no, because I'm scared. So I had to go back. I'm not going to know everything, Selina. Like, it's okay. So, yeah, try not to put too much pressure on yourself to know everything. Because we live in this age where you could just Google it, chat GPT it, and the answers are there, right? But you really have to have, like, a bigger purpose of why you're doing your work.
Yeah, thank you so much. We are grateful that you were able to be with us today. This has been exciting and impactful as well.
Thank you.
And I'm sure all the young people who will listen to this are going to be impacted by what you said. And I'm just urging out all the young people out there, if you want to reach out, Selina is always ready and welcoming person. So reach out to her. She has so much that she can share with you. And I think it's going to be so impactful as well.
Yes. Can I plug in a couple things before? Yes. With the young people? So there's a couple things if you are interested in getting involved in community. I do wear multiple hats. So please reach out to me. There's different things that I do that I've done for years. Like I have a hiking group, Reinas Who Hike. I work for an organization currently called Mountain Mamas, where we're doing a lot of environmental advocacy and coffee shop. If you want to come have coffee when we open, if you want to intern at our habitat, like there's always I'll create an opportunity for you because it is really important that I open the doors. I don't just talk about it. I really do it, and I not just open the doors. Like I strive to create their own room, like their own like building, because it's really important for me because people have done that for me, and I want to make sure that I continue to do that. And now I'm excited to do that on a bigger level here with Ward 5. So just thank you both, and thank you to everyone that listened. I'm really accessible and approachable, so please reach out with any questions.